My name is Angie Morfogen, and my pronouns are she, her. I serve as chair of the Aesthetics Committee, a subcommittee of the Worship Committee. We bring art shows and seasonal decor to the Meeting House. If you are interested in art or enjoy decorating, especially for the winter holidays, we welcome new members. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. This morning we welcome a guest speaker, Reverend Kerwin Webb, is an ordained Baptist minister currently serving as visiting minister at Martin Luther King Jr. Presbyterian Church in Neptune, New Jersey. Reverend Webb earned a Bachelor of Business Administration from Alabama State University in 2004 and a Master of Divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary in 2019. Reverend Webb's guiding scripture is Romans 12:2, quote, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of God," end quote. Thanks to the UUCMC Endowment for supporting today's service through its annual disbursement to the congregation. You can find more information on how you can help our endowment strengthen the mission of UUCMC at www.uucmc.org/giving/plannedgiving. I draw your attention to the back of the orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those of you on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Thank you to Elaine and to the Fischels for filling in for the music today, as Louise was unable to make it. Welcome again to this place of love and hope. Let us welcome Judy Stevens, who will make an announcement.
Good morning. I'm coming to you this morning as a representative of our council, and unfortunately, the recipients of this month's honoring of outstanding volunteers, it looks like no members of the family are here. So you'll just have to thank them when you see them. There have been Harbison, and later Harbison Atrium, family members working for the benefit of this congregation since 1986. Now active participants in their third generation, this family has served in so many roles, in so many ways, it would be hard to keep track. In leadership and family ministry, in keeping our spot of Monmouth County looking good inside and out, the Harbison Atriums have been a part. Jim and Susan have obviously been the role models for the following two generations. Tom has served in finance and administration, and soon we assume as board president. Elizabeth is a stalwart in family ministry. Cole has advised us on the perspectives of our youth. He and Ben have helped during pancake breakfast, and Alice has written to the board about how children could be better listened to and involved in congregational life. These are but a few examples of the many congregations they've made. So, a grateful congregation raises up and thanks the Harbison Atriums for their involvement, for their care, for their giving. Thank you. And I'm sorry to have anybody.
Our call to worship comes from Psalm 118, verses 22 through 24. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. This is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it.
May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Thank you. Please rise as you are able and join us in hymn 299, Make Channels for Streams of Love.
Our theme this month is interdependence. Our story is called The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. It is autumn, and a strong wind is blowing flower seeds high in the air and carrying them far across the land. One of the seeds is tiny, smaller than the others. Will it be able to keep up? And where are they all going? One of the seeds flies higher than the others. Up, up it goes. It flies too high, and the sun's rays burn it up. But the tiny seed sails on with the others. Another seed lands on a tall and icy mountain. It never melts, and the seed cannot grow. The rest of the seeds fly on, but the tiny seed does not go as fast as the others. Now they fly over the ocean. One seed falls into the water and drowns. The others sail on with the wind, but the tiny seed does not go as high as the others. One seed drifts down onto the desert. It is hot and dry, and the seed cannot grow. Now the tiny seed is flying very low, but the wind pushes it on with the others. Finally, the wind stops. The seeds fall gently to the ground. a bird comes by and eats one seed. The tiny seed is not eaten. It is so small that the bird does not see it. Now it's winter. After their long trip, the seed settles down. They look as if they are going to sleep in the earth. Snow falls and covers them like a soft white blanket. A hungry mouse also lives in the ground, eats the seed for his lunch, but the tiny seed lies very still, and the mouse does not see it. Now it is spring. After a few months, the snow has melted. It is really spring. Birds fly by, the sun shines, rain falls. The seeds grow so round and full, they start to burst open a little. Now they are not seeds anymore, they are plants. First, they send roots down into the earth. Then the little stems and leaves begin to grow up towards the sun and the air. There is another plant that grows much faster than the new plants. It is a big, fat weed. And it takes all the sunlight and the rain away from all of the smaller plants around it. And a little plant dies. The tiny seed hasn't begun to grow yet. It will be too late. Hurry. But finally it does. It starts to grow into a plant. The warm weather brings children out to play. They too have been waiting for the sun and the springtime. One doesn't see the plants as they run around. One doesn't see the plants as he runs along. And, oh, he breaks one. Now it cannot grow anymore. The tiny plant that grew from the tiny seed is growing fast, but its neighbors grow even faster. Before the tiny plant has 3 leaves, the other plant has 7 leaves. And look, a bud, and now even a flower. But what is happening? First, there are footsteps. Then, a shadow looms over them. Then, a hand reaches down and breaks off the flower. A boy has picked the flower to give to a friend. It is summer. Now, the tiny plant from the tiny seed is all alone. It grows on, and it does not stop. The sun shines on it, and the rain waters it. It has many leaves. It grows taller and taller. It is taller than the people. It is taller than the houses. And now, a flower grows on it. People come from far and near to look at this flower. It is the tallest flower they've ever seen. It is a giant flower. All summer long, the birds and the bees and the butterflies come visiting. They've never seen such a big and beautiful flower. Now, it is autumn again. The days grow shorter, the nights grow colder, and the wind carries yellow and red leaves past the flower. Some petals drop from the giant flower, and they sail along with the bright leaves over the land and down to the ground. The wind blows harder. The flowers have lost almost all its petals. It sways and bends with the wind. The wind grows stronger and shakes the flower. Once more, the wind shakes the flower, and this time, the flower's seed pod opens. Out come many tiny seeds, then quickly blow away in the wind. And the cycle begins again. This story about the tiny seed is a story that teaches us a powerful lesson about interdependence. Like the seed, we all rely on the world around us for growth. The wind, the rain, the sunshine, they were all essential for the seed to flourish. And just as the seed needed help from others, we too are connected to one another. We depend on our neighbors' kindness, our teachers' knowledge, our family's love. We are all a part of the web of life where each living thing plays a vital role. And speaking of the web of life, our younger friends today are going out into nature. We're going on a nature hike, and we're going to learn firsthand about interdependence. They might see a caterpillar munching on a leaf, unaware that one day it will become a butterfly pollinating flowers. We might discover a spider's web, a marvel of engineering that depends on tiny insects caught for the spider's survival. Let us nourish these connections that bind us together, for through these connections, we all truly grow and thrive. May it be so. Let's sing our children out. We're going to gather in the community room with Go Now in Peace.
In this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of April is UU Ministry for Earth, whose mission is to be a seedbed for spiritual grounding and education that inspires deep practices of earth care, justice, and flourishing for all. Please see https://www.uumfe.org for the many programs UU Ministry of Earth offers. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or change your contribution online, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to UU Ministry for Earth. Please give generously.
I'll begin by reading from Matthew chapter 13, verses 3 through 9, in the Holman Christian Standard Bible. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "Consider the sower who went out to sow. As he was sowing, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Others fell on rocky ground where there wasn't much soil, and they sprang up quickly since the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered. Others fell among the thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them out. Still others fell on good ground and produced a crop, some 100, some 60, and some 30 times what was sown. Anyone who had ears should listen." This morning, for the brevity of time that is mine, I'd like to share from the thought, cycles in life. Cycles in life. We may not think about it actively, but there are certain patterns and cycles that we all experience regularly throughout our lives. There are business cycles. There are budget cycles. There are wash cycles. There are different economic cycles. And then the life cycle in and of itself. And if we pay attention to these cycles, we can identify certain characteristics that happen frequently throughout them. A cycle is defined as a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. And so, for the life cycle, there is a seed that is planted, there is time that it takes for the seed to germinate, and then there is the offspring. This could be human life, this could be plant life. But I would also like to invite us to consider that it could be with our words or our actions or the way that we engage with others. And so for this morning, a seed of thought that I would like to offer, that this simple Bible parable that Jesus is sharing with the disciples and with the crowds, there's some simple truths about our existence that might be helpful for us to realize. 3 things: seed, time, and then the harvest. And each stage is needed. You will always need the seed to begin the growth of anything. And I don't know about you, but if you plant a seed today, you cannot have a crop tomorrow, and so there's time that has to bypass. And then finally, there is the harvest of what was produced. And I'd like for us to frame our context as thinking about these words, seed, time, harvest, as markers along our journey. Quickly, the parable is basically Jesus as he is continuing his earthly ministry, sharing and teaching the disciples and those who are in Jerusalem. And Jesus recognized that everyone was not necessarily on the same level. And even though Jesus was incredibly skilled and gifted in the scriptures, in the knowledge of the history of the Jewish people, he wanted to make sure that his listeners could understand what he was saying. Therefore, with these difficult concepts, he made them accessible by using metaphors, similes, parables, stories where anyone could understand and take the meaning. And so in this passage, we see a sower, a person who has a seemingly infinite amount of seed. It's going out and scattering seed. The next few verses talks about the different types of soil that the seed falls on. Some falls along the wayside and birds come and scoop it up. Some fall on stony ground where it doesn't have a lot of depth so it can't take root really deep. So it shoots up as quickly as it was planted, but because it was not planted deep enough, the sun scorched that which would have been the offspring. Then there was the thorns, where as the plant grew up, the thorns grew and choked out the plant. And then finally, there's the good soil that produced 30, 60, or 100 times what was sown. This is the context of the parable, and the first thing that we want to look at is the seed. The seed. Any seed that we sow bears our resemblance. The words that we speak to people have some DNA of our own. The way that we speak, the way that we smile, or the way that we ignore people, these are all seeds that begin to take root. And sometimes, in our busyness in life, in our ambition to be better, we sometimes sow seeds that we are not aware of. Seeds of offense, seeds of mistrust, seeds of hurt and pain that we didn't intentionally sow, yet the result is no less painful. When we walk past a person who is expecting a warm hello and we don't speak, that seed has been planted. When we are frustrated at the cares of life or work and we are short with our loved ones, that seed is planted. And so we find in this text that whether it's kindness or effort or belief, our essence are in the seeds that we sow. And so we want to make sure that as we carry out our lives and our existence, we are mindful to intentionally sow good seed. I'm not sure if there's a doubt that there are good seeds and bad seeds out in every ecosystem. And unfortunately, if we look at our life, if we look at our world, it seems that the weeds are winning. I would offer that we, those who know better, would want to sow more good seed so that there's more good seed in the world, more happiness, more forgiveness, more grace, less hatred, less bitterness, less contention. That's an intentional act that those who are called to go out and sow, they're required to do. When was the last time you sowed a seed of change? Where you had a relationship and it was not operating in the best way and you decided, I'm going to do something different. I recognize that my relationship with my brother or my sister is not as life-giving as it could be, and it's gotten to the point to where maybe our relationship is strained. Naturally, what we would want to do is to avoid the conflict, stay away from the person who has offended us. But I have seen many times where those characteristics are at play and someone decided, I want to be better. And therefore, even though I haven't spoken to or been spoken to, I will make the first step. I will extend the olive branch to try to salvage the relationship. I will apologize if I offended someone. So easy to sow bad seed. My challenge is for us all to consider how we might sow good seed to counteract the bad. The second repeated phenomenon in the cycles of life is time. If we go back to the seeds of our words where we're sharing with loved ones or coworkers, sometimes the things that you say don't immediately show an impact. Yet over time, offense that is unaddressed grows into bitterness that can then boil over into frustration and anger. Even so, We must recognize that the seeds of plants, the seeds of human life, or even the seeds of change and transformation, whether I want to transform this room into a different color or whether I want to transform this building into a different structure, the seeds have to be planted, and then time will take care of the details. When seeds are planted into the ground, there's germination that takes place. That nature in the soil and the sun and the rain, they all come together in the ecosystem of life to begin chemical transformations that act on the seed to begin the growth. See, the small seeds, even the kind that get caught up in the wind like Michelle was talking about, the smallest seed has everything it needs on the inside of it for new life. Which means that we have everything that we need on the inside of us for new life. If there are areas of our life that are dormant or not producing the amount or the type of fruit that we like, we can change it because the seeds that we plant have everything. But it has to be planted in the right soil. As I read the parable, there were 4 different types of soil that were mentioned. There was the wayside, which seemingly the seeds did not get buried at all. There was then the rocky soil or the stones, where there was dirt soil, but it was rocks and hard things underneath that prevented the seed from going deep down into the earth. Then there was the weeds, which presumably the seed was able to grow in and around until it grew up to the point where it was trying to get past the weeds, and the weeds would not let it grow. And then there's the good soil that took root. This, I believe, can help us to understand that even when we intentionally go out to sow good seeds, with our actions, with our words, with our contributions, with our lives, all of our efforts, all of our seeds that are planted will not necessarily produce a harvest. We have to recognize that some ground that we sow our seeds on will not be deep enough for the work to take place. Sometimes we have to recognize that the teachings that people have are not deep enough to have them be able to withstand the heat from the sun, the heat of criticism, the heat of resistance. Some seeds take root really quickly, all excited in the beginning, but then when trouble comes, it withers away. And there are some seeds, the ones that are on the wayside, where people will come and steal them from you. Whether they are ideas that you have at work, whether they are friends that you have that go to somewhere else, or even people who want to leave one community to go to another. The message is that even though all of our seeds will not produce a harvest that we may desire, we should not stop sowing our seeds. Because in this parable that Jesus tells, the sower that went out had a mandate to produce fruit. And that's what we all have, a mandate to produce fruit. We have the opportunity and the responsibility to make sure that life continues, that the cycles of life, the cycles of love and regeneration, that they can grow because we have had seeds planted into us. And we were nurtured. We were planted in good ground. And nature showered us and covered us and allowed us to go deep into our understanding, deep into our lives, deep into our work, deep into relationships, so that we could stand against the wind, stand against the rain, that we could be strong representatives of the good fruit that we are. So every seed that we sow may not produce the harvest that we desire, but if we are patient and we trust the process, we know that there will be a harvest on the other side. When families begin to reproduce, you don't necessarily know immediately when the seed was planted and begins to fertilize. But you will recognize that over time, as the body starts changing, you will recognize the new life. And through the time where a mother is carrying a child to term, there are different variations, there are different changes, there are different cycles and pains. And right before the harvest, there usually is the most difficult part, the labor and the delivery. I would offer that some people don't sow seeds of transformation and change, not in big ways, not because they can't, not because we don't have what we need, not because we're impatient and don't want to wait. I believe a lot of times it's because the labor and the delivery of the new life scares us. It requires us to see things differently. It requires us to modify our lifestyle. It requires us to sacrifice for this new thing that we are trying to bring forth. And this new thing even has the potential to take our life. But for those who have been blessed in many ways, those who have been gifted with resources or opportunities or skills and talents, those of us who have been sheltered and those of us who've been mentored or guided, those of us who have all that we need, we are called like the sower to go out and sow, to share that which we have, to plant even into rocky ground, even into ground where thorns will grow up, even in places where people will take the seeds that we plant. But if we trust that we are doing the right work, if we trust that we are doing good for people, then we must know that the percentage of the harvest that does grow, the 25%, will produce a harvest that is greater than what we can imagine. Some 30 times what was sown, some 60 times what was sown, some 100 times what was sown. Jesus concludes this parable by telling the disciples and those that were assembled, if you have ears, you should listen. I say to you today, all of us, if we have ears, we should listen. We must be mindful of the seeds that we plant. We must be patient with the time that it takes for those seeds of goodness, those seeds of love, those seeds of forgiveness and grace to show up. Because if we do that, in due season, we will reap. And the harvest that we reap will be greater than the amount of seeds that we've sown. As we look at the cycles of life, identify the patterns, the places where we're planting, the time that it takes for the seeds to germinate and grow, and then the work of the harvest. Because another scripture says that the harvest is plentiful, yet the laborers are few. We have a responsibility and an important charge in this nation at this appointed time, that we can go out and sow seeds of greatness, or we can sow seeds of division. We know that time is passing no matter what. And so we have to be ready for the harvest that our words and our works will bring forth. May it be so.
In a break from our regularly scheduled programming, David and I are going to do an old Gordon Lightfoot song, Early Morning Rain. In the early morning rain, with a dollar in my hand, and a breaking in my heart, with my pocket full of sand, I'm a long way from home. And I miss my loved ones so. In the early morning rain, with no place to go, out on runway number 9, big 707 set to go. But I'm stuck here on the ground where the cold wind blows. Well, the liquor tasted good, and the women all were fast. Well, there she goes, my friend. There she's rolling now at last. Hear the mighty engines roar. See the silver bird on high. She's away and westward bound. Far above the clouds she'll fly, where the morning rain don't fall, and the sun always shines. She'll be flying on my home in about 3 hours' time. Well, this old airport's got me down. It's no earthly good to me, 'cause I'm stuck here on the ground, cold as stuck as I might be. You can jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on my way in the early morning rain.
There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us each with each and through all life onto the distant stars. Each knows a little corner of the world and lives as if this were his all. We no more see the farther reaches of the threads than we see of the future, yet they're here. Touch but one thread, no matter which. The thoughtful eye may trace to distant lands its firming, continuing strand, yet lose its filaments as they reach out. But find at last it coming back to him from whom it led. We move as in a fog, aware of self, but only dimly conscious of the rest, as they are close to us in sight or feeling. New objects loom up for a time, fade in and out. Then, sometimes, as we look on unawares, the fog lifts, and there's a web in shimmering beauty, reaching past all horizons. We catch our breath, stretch out our eager hands, and then in comes the fog again, and we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen. The hands were right, the web is real. Our folly is that we so soon forget. And please rise as you are able for hymn 163.
As we prepare to leave from this place, I would invite you to consider the seeds that you sow. I would invite you to remember the time that it takes for new life, for change, for transformation to happen. And finally, I'd like for you to consider the harvests of joy, the harvests of love, compassion, goodness. These are intentional seeds that we can sow. There's intentional change that we can help usher in. Receive ye now this benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance to you and give you peace. Amen.